FTB Film Study is presented by PAM Health, the official rehabilitation partner of Penn State Football. PAM Health provides elite-level inpatient and outpatient physical care at over 70 hospitals across the country. Learn more at pamhealth.com.
Welcome into another For the Bloggy Film Study. The Matt Campbell era has begun in Happy Valley. And one of the biggest questions on most people's minds is, what defense is Penn State going to run? Because at Iowa State, Matt Campbell and Jon Heacock, his defensive coordinator, longtime defensive coordinator since 2016, they've run the 3-3-5. And people are wondering, can that translate to the Big Ten? And does Penn State have the type of guys needed to run that type of defense? So we're going to dive into the film of Iowa State's 3-3-5 defense, show you everything you need to know. So when you go to the in-laws, the cookout, the hangout, wherever you're going, you're going to be able to tell them all about Iowa State's 3-3-5 and how it works and if Penn State could run it efficiently. If you guys are enjoying the content, please hit the subscribe and like button. It helps out the channel. Without further ado, let's get into the tape. All right, let's start out with the base philosophies and base identity of this Iowa State defense. So you're going to see they are a 3-3 like we said. So you're going to see 3 down linemen that are going to be playing into these offensive linemen. And then they do a variety of things with their linebackers. So something that's interesting right here, we'll let this play, and they kind of like to plug their safeties down in from depth because they're not accounted for. So let it roll for a second. So what you're going to see is everybody 2 hands in, 2 hands in, 2 hands in. Defensive linemen are taught to play into their man. They don't play a gap. They play into their man. And then what you get here is you have these 3 guys kind of crashing in. Okay, so we're going to have both of these linebackers basically playing contain out here. This is going to be their job to box everything in. And then you have a safety adding on from depth that generally is going to be unaccounted for. So that's kind of their plan, is crash the middle with at least 4 at a time. These 4 are all going inside, and then these 2 are going to keep contained outside. And generally, it gives them some good matchups. And right here, you go one-on-one, your safety, their running back, and he just puts your man in the dirt. That's all right. That's why we're getting better players than Iowa State. But that's kind of the general idea of the defense of how they work. It's so crash down in. Like if you are going vertical and you're on the inside of this defense, you better go. And if you're going to keep contained, you better keep contained. So if you watch this here, and it's just kind of how it looks, once again, you get 4 guys in the middle that their only worry is plugging the middle, and then you're going to get these 2 guys that are keeping contained on the outside. And once again, you're getting this safety plugging from depth, so he's really unaccounted for, able to get up in the hole and make the tackle right there. Now, I will say sometimes because they have so much trust, these guys, that the contain out here is being kept by the contain man, sometimes their fits actually aren't great. So like if you watch 3 right here, he's fighting his butt off to get on this inside gap. He's not worried at all about extending this and kind of 2-gapping it and reading which way is this running back going to go. He's just fighting inside. So is 34. And then 1 at safety's fitting here too. And it's okay because that's the way the running back goes. But this guy really actually doesn't play great contain. And this running back should have probably bounced this outside. There was a huge hole where the B gap was. So it works out fine. But from what I've seen a lot on tape, this Iowa State defense, sometimes they get too enamored with just going vertical and filling the interior of the offensive line that there can be some open gaps from time to time. And now let's talk about these contain guys and how important they are. And like I said, because of the way they play this defense, it is uberly important that these guys that are playing contain just sprint out there and make sure they have it. So you're going to do something similar again, where you're contain out here and you're contain out here. A lot of it is their outside linebackers. Sometimes they're safeties, but they love to have the outside linebackers play contain. And now once again, what we're going to get is we're going to get both of the DNs pressing in. Like they like to press everything down in and press it vertical. They want to clog everything up in the middle, and then you got your big nose tackle, of course, plugging this up. And then what else you have here is you have 34 that's kind of waiting to see where he's going to shoot. And then they love, and this is why they have 3 safeties on the field a lot of the time, because 17, this extra safety, can kind of bounce around and just be that extra in run support and plug in. But they decide to hand the football off. Quarterback actually pulls it around here, but this is what I mean. This is why the contain is so important. They're so busy plugging up here. No one is worried about outside except the outside guy, which is the contain man, does a good job getting him down right there. But it is uberly important. Like, you see the contain guys, they're always very careful. If you watch for here, he makes sure when he starts to run, you see this, you see how he was going to run into him and kind of just initiate contact. He goes, oh no, I need to make sure I get all the way out here, get off, run, and try my best to keep contained there. So great job from him right there. And then overall, like I said, you just see so much crashing from everybody. It's at least 4 guys, but sometimes it's 5, where they're just plugging everybody. So you got all the D linemen playing in, you got both linebackers shooting down in, and no one's really worried about out here because they trust, all right, we got our outside linebacker coming over here, and we got our outside linebacker keeping contain over here. So generally, they're trying to be very gap sound, and it's about just being physical, about being vertical, because you know that I have my guy out here keeping contain. You watch 3 right here. Watch, he's going to hit this puller, and he is not going to fight outside. He's going to wrong shoulder this thing, which meaning, so you watch 3 and how he's going to dip this outside shoulder into this puller. You see how he dips down and in, and he fights this thing because he's just trying to clog up the middle because he knows I got my buddy 23 with contain coming in. Running back bounces out just a little bit. Contain player is there to help make the tackle. Now, something I saw on tape for this Iowa State defense is because they stress the run fit so much, that's telling the defense, hey, here's where you need to be if they run the ball. Sometimes they bite on play action pretty hard. So if you watch right here, this safety coming down and this linebacker, they both bite really hard on this play action fake and just shoot all the way down. And you can see both of them start to get into oh crap mode. But if there's a little bit more space, like there was a couple times where they got in trouble and they got things fired up the seam because they were so quick to come keep contain and get down into their contain position that they just completely let their man go right by them. Now, luckily it's picked up, and they go the other direction. They throw it down the other side of the field. You get a PI right here. But that's just something that I noticed, that sometimes you get into that, oh, crap, I got, let me get back, because they stress how important the run fits are. And sometimes it feels like that almost takes precedent over what they're trying to do in pass coverage. All right, now let's talk about some of the really cool things that they do at Iowa State with this defense. And right away, what I notice here is you have 2-3 techniques. So 1-3 technique right here, 1-3 technique right here, and then you have the nose tackle right here. And once again, the idea is they are just going to clog up the middle, because if you look, we got both our outside linebackers are going to play this contain, and we're just going to stuff up the middle. We're going to put 5 guys on the interior. So you see everybody following this, shooting this. Watch the safety. We're adding on from depth right here. We're getting through and just completely clogging everything up. And the other piece of something that makes this difficult is I want you to notice, like, you cannot leave a center one-on-one with the nose tackle because he's right over top of him. It's one of the most difficult things you can do. So he needs help from this left guard since they're running to the right. Well, guess what? Guess who doesn't get any help? This left tackle. So you're putting stress on an offensive line because you're giving them a nose and a 3 technique and a 3 technique over here. So like these guys have to move. So I can't get help. No one can help me if I'm this tackle. No one can help me on this 3 tech because this guard has to go. And so you got a little bit of a mismatch here. If he's really got to move and you're able to get this penetration from this defensive tackle, and it happened all because of alignment and trying to scheme it up that way. And there was a multitude of different times where that's how it worked out. So now we're going to go the opposite direction. This running back's trying to make something out of nothing, and that's why you get stripped. Iowa State's defense was pretty good with turnovers, but you get the same thing here where you have 2-3 techniques, right? And so you have the nose tackle. So now we're running to the left. So now this right guard, he has to help this center. He has to help this center with the nose tackle because that's the point of attack. You have to move that nose tackle. So now once again, you get a 3 technique that just has natural leverage. Like he's already inside of this tackle. So all he has to do is just jet upfield. And it's so difficult for this tackle to be able to reach it, tries to reach it, but he still gets through this thing, gets penetration, fights through, and does enough to allow his guys to come help. And guess what? We're going to see it here in a second. We'll go wide view. Mr. Contain Man kind of got thrown to the ground, but the contain is always there once again. So we'll go to the wide view, and so you see this. You see the three techniques, everybody playing vertical into their man, but watch the contain man. This is how serious they take contain. He sees that this guy is going to start to creep down to block him, and he just takes off all the way around. Like, it's not like it's an engage and like try to hold the edge kind of. He just takes off and like runs to the sideline, runs upfield. Like, they do a very good job on this defense of making sure guys understand what it actually means to keep contained, because they stress how much everybody else needs to just play freely and get downhill. So the contained guys have to be the contained guys.
FTB Film Study is presented by PAM Health, the official rehabilitation partner of Penn State Football. PAM Health provides elite-level inpatient and outpatient physical rehabilitation at over 70 hospitals across the country. We strive to make a meaningful impact in the lives of our patients by facilitating extraordinary outcomes and quality results in a compassionate and caring environment. Learn more at pamhealth.com.
Now, when talking about this double three technique situation that you got going on, it's great in the run game. I really like it. I think it boxes a lot of things in. The problem is, when you were going to pass the ball, it feels like it gives the quarterback an absolute eternity. And the reason why that is you just have three down linemen and everybody's on the inside, so these are the only three guys that are down, you're going to get a bunch of double teams. Everybody's down, everybody's close. You got paws on everybody. So it's so easy to block everybody up when you have 2-3 techniques and a nose. Your quarterback's going to be able to sit back there forever and just deal it wherever he wants to go. And that's what you see right here. We're going to get into the coverages in a second. This is also part of just dropping 8. I've noticed some of the guys, like there's sometimes the spacing just isn't really good with the coverage. You got two guys on top of each other here, and you're in this cover 3 defense, and they're able to just throw it kind of right up the seam right here. But part of that is because you have no pass rush. So that's the downside to the cool part of some of this. So there's strengths and there's weaknesses to everything that Iowa State does on defense. All right, we were just talking about the 3-man pass rush, and that is my biggest critique of this 3-3 defense. I despise the 3-man pass rush because, like we just talked about, it's so hard to generate any type of pass rush in general. But the entire drop 8 thing, I get it, but things like this happen. Like, you are in 7-man pass protection here. You only have 3 routes. It's these 3 routes. They're all deep routes. So guess what you get here? You're not rushing anybody. The quarterback is able to set up shop. He has an absolute eternity, and you have 5 guys underneath, 3 over top. And guess what? The 5 guys underneath literally are covering nothing. Like, there's nothing for them to cover. And there's so, like, the proximity is so close to some of them, honestly. So I would much rather have an extra rusher than be able to put 5 guys on underneath coverage. And like, yeah, it's a good throw, but that's the biggest problem is just it gives way too much time, because if you watch this, and like I said, yeah, this is a 7-man pass pro, but you're able to create double teams here and get on guys, and everybody's just so tight and so close. I mean, that's the biggest thing is generally, if you remember that, like if you think about a Penn State defense, there's a D end out here, and there's going to be a D end out here, and you're able to actually get rush angles out. When you're this tight and everybody is just up on the offensive lineman, it's so difficult to be able to rush up the field. The quarterback can set up shop, look where he wants to go, and fire it away. And I saw that from watching all of this tape. Texas was taking deep shots all day long on this Iowa State defense. I mean, it was like every other play, they're like, hey, let's just throw one deep. Because if you look at it, once again, that's the hardest part for defensive linemen is if we go back to the beginning, the alignment of where you're at. Everything is so tight. Instead of being out here like normal defensive ends are, and maybe probably out here, they're much tighter. So it's so much easier for the offensive lineman to just get up on them. I'm just going to get up on this. Boom, get right up on them. And now we basically have a double team here. We're going to leave center one-on-one. He's got that covered up. And then I'm going to come help my other guy, and we got a double team over here. And quarterback, do you want a cigarette? You want a martini? It's just sitting back there. He could hold this for another 7 seconds. I don't really like a defense that is going to allow a quarterback, if this is, Ohio State and we're facing Julian Sayin, I'm not giving Julian Sayin 8 or 9 seconds to throw the football and do this to Jeremiah Smith next year. So this is my main problem with the 3-3 defense. I need better pass rushers, and we got to utilize the pass rushers that Penn State has. All right, now let's talk about what Iowa State does on third down. And they'll mix it up, but something they always go back to is they love this A-gap double mug. So basically what you're going to get is you get 2-3 techniques. You get some type of overhang on both sides, but the double mug means that you got two guys mugged up. They're in linebacker position, so they're standing up, and they're in both A-gaps. And you're always, this puts a lot of stress on an offensive line because you don't know who's going to stunt where. You don't know who's going to drop out. There's a lot that's going on here, something Manny Diaz did a lot of. So if you watch this, what you're going to get here is you're going to get one of these linebackers coming free. And so let's talk about how you get that is you're going to go two penetrators. So this linebacker is just penetrating down to his right. This guy's penetrating down, and then the looper is coming around. So this is what's really difficult for this offensive line is they come to slide down, and then we're going to just loop all the way around, and they're not able to get off on that. It's way too late, and you got this guy coming free. So obviously Penn State has better athletes, but I like what I saw in the scheme. There's some pretty good blitzes on there to mess with the minds of the offensive line. And then let's just talk about what we're seeing in coverage. And this is what I really saw a lot of on third down whenever they were using this split double mug is you're just getting man-to-man coverage. So it's man-to-man across the board. And then there's this robber that just kind of sits in the middle of the field, and he's a zone. Everybody else is man. This robber's in zone, and he can kind of just go whichever direction he sees fit and just move around, and you'll see he gets utilized, and he can be very involved. Now, right here, once again, third down, almost an interception by the robber right there, but let's talk about it. A little bit different of what they do. So first things first is they have both guys mugged up, but they're going to drop one out. So he engages, and then drops out to get into one of the passing lanes. So he kind of occupies the center. And what you're getting is you're giving your guys a lot of one-on-one opportunities, one-on-one out here. And then you're also giving your linebacker one-on-one against your running back, which I hope he would win. And this doesn't happen to him where he gets picked up in the air. Oh no, this poor old chap. Yes, this poor chap right here. Tossed in the dirt. Good grief. But once again, we're not looking at the players. We're looking at the scheme. Penn State's players are going to operate this a lot more efficiently. And so we're going to get a very similar thing here. So man-to-man, 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 man-to-man a little bit farther away. And then here is the robber once again. And he's just, generally, he is reading the quarterback's eyes and just seeing where his eyes are. And that's going to tell this robber which way to move. So he sees his eyes are snapping over this way, sees him start to follow this thing, and then his eyes snap back to this curl route. And he sees it, jumps in front of it, and almost intercepts that thing. So they do some things. It's not always blitzing. Sometimes it's just playing with the mind of the quarterback. And then right here, this is kind of what they generally will do if it's third. Well, like we're sitting here, this is 3rd and 12. If they don't want to have the double mug on third down, they will just go 3 down linemen. They're going to drop back, and then they're just going to add on 1 rusher. So actually what you're getting here is it's a little bit of actually almost a delayed stunt. So this defensive end is going to loop inside, and then this linebacker is going to loop around. So penetrate inside, loop around, and you actually get some pretty good pressure here. And one thing I want you to notice, even in this pass rush game, he makes sure, because he's going against Daniels, who was a really good running quarterback a couple years ago, he makes sure to keep contained outside. They stress containment very heavily. And then whenever they are playing third down, you see so much man-to-man. So what we have here is man-to-man, except with that, it is a 2 high. So this is cover 2. Cover 2 meaning that you have 2 high safeties, but it's man coverage. So that makes it cover 2 man. Everybody is locked up, and that stunt that you run with your defensive end and linebacker works out because your defensive end gets home for the sack.